Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CircuitPython Weekly for January 27th, 2020. This is the time of the week that we get together to talk about everything CircuitPython. I'm Katney, and I'm sponsored by Adafruit to work on CircuitPython. CircuitPython is a version of Python that runs on microcontrollers. CircuitPython development is sponsored by Adafruit, so please support them by purchasing hardware from adafruit.com. This meeting happens normally at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on Mondays, except when noted. We sometimes move the date when there are U.S. holidays conflicting with the meeting. And if we do, we will be sure to let you know in many ways. We are going to be doing that sooner and more often in the event of any changes. This meeting is recorded. We host it on Discord. So if you are not already a member of the Adafruit Discord, you can join there at adafru.it/discord. And we meet in the CircuitPython audio channel and text channel. As a side note, there is construction going on, so you will be hearing that throughout the meeting. Apologies ahead of time. We record both the audio and the text chat. So in the event that you don't want your voice recorded and you still want to participate in the meeting, you would be able to do that by posting any of your updates to the CircuitPython text channel or into the notes document, which we will read from later. There are notes available for this meeting. We put them up on GitHub. And they do have timestamps, so you can scan through the notes. If you want to listen to something at some point, you can scan through the notes and get to that point without dealing with the whole thing if that's not something you're interested in doing. We will release the recording on YouTube as well as most podcast services. If you find that we are missing from your favorite podcast service, please let us know. So this meeting is hosted in 5 parts. The first part is community news, which is an overview of everything CircuitPython or Python on hardware in the community. The second part is the state of CircuitPython libraries and Blinka, where we talk about the health of the project. It's sort of a statistical overview of where we're at by the numbers. And we talk about the whole project overall, and then we talk about the core, the libraries, and Blinka separately. The next part is Hug Reports. Hug Reports is an opportunity to thank people for all the amazing work that they're doing. It will be held in a round robin where we will start with the person who is running things and then go down the list alphabetically and loop back to the top, giving everybody a chance to talk. If you are text only or don't want to, want to participate but are not in the meeting, you can leave notes and we will read them off alphabetically as if you were in the list as well. The next section is status updates, which is an opportunity to sync up on what we've been doing over the past week and what we will be doing over the next week. This is also held in a round robin in the same way. And finally, we have the section that we lovingly refer to as In the Weeds, which is a chance for more long-form discussions. Basically, if this is something that you already know is a little bit too long for status updates, or something starts in status updates and moves to a much longer discussion, we can move that discussion to In the Weeds. We already have a number of In the Weeds topics, which is excellent. If you have any topics for In the Weeds, please post them to the notes as soon as possible, and that way we're not waiting later to see what anyone wants to talk to you about in the weeds. If it's something that comes out of status updates, no worries there. Just let us know that you want to move something to In the Weeds, and we will do that. And I think that covers pretty much everything. So with that, I will hand it over to Phil with community news.
Okay, thank you, Kenny.
You are welcome.
All right. So first up, the Open Hardware Summit prototypes are here. You can see them on Twitter, you can see them on our newsletter, you can see them on our blog, you can see them on our shows. It is a CircuitPython powered wearable, and it's super cool. You can see these perfect purple PCBs right there. Speaking of there's more good news. We have a event topic channel specifically for Open Hardware Summit. So it's pound OH Summit 20. That matches the tag online too. And you can check it out. There's a permanent link there for the Discord server that you can send to anyone anytime. There is a link to get your tickets and more. And we have an art folder if you want to get artwork with Blinka with the gear logo. You probably noticed in the chat, there is now an OSI logo and an open source hardware community gear logo. Next up, if you are on a Mac and you use Moo, you should check this out and download the latest version. It's mostly bug fixes because a bunch of stuff changed on Macs. Speaking of, this is my theme today. I have a topic and then I do a speaking of. Sponsor Entol on GitHub. We're a sponsor. You should sponsor them too. If you've ever downloaded Moo, if you ever used anything in the world of Python with hardware recently, Nicholas is involved in it in some way. Also a beautiful, wonderful, thoughtful person. And GitHub now has sponsorships. So for all the folks who are like, oh, if there's only way I could donate or something, now you can. Latest issue of Hackspace magazine is out. There is a couple good articles. One is how to blink things with CircuitPython, but most important, and I think this is the coolest one, is Serpente, Arturo's board, got a 10 out of 10. So that's a big deal. And we like seeing all these cool boards out there that can run CircuitPython, and they put it to the test. 10 out of 10, high praise from Hackspace Magazine. So congrats, Arturo, and looking forward to more hardware that you're coming out with. The winners of the Take Flight with Feather Context were announced. Open Book 1, it's a Feather compatible, and there's a bunch of stuff going on with CircuitPython. So if you want to see what Joey's up to, I think like in the last few hours, Joey just posted up the font stuff that works with CircuitPython so you can display fonts in multiple languages. Another thing that happened over the weekend-ish was we hit 16,000 people on this Discord server. So thank you, everyone. And I did a quick post about someone else's observation that there's Slack, there's Discord, there's Gitter, there's matrix.org, there's a couple others. Hackaday has their own chat server, but it looks like a lot of the communities are going from Slack, because they're outgrowing Slack, plus Slack's for business, to Discord. And so someone did a little table comparing the two. For me, I put a list on the article that I did of all the Maker Electronics Discord places and other places that I tend to tune into. So check those out. At some point, I might do a list because it'd be nice to have these invite links in one spot. That's one of the hard things with Discord is finding the invite link sometimes. But yeah, check it out. Next up, there are some new boards. So we're up to 103 boards on circuitpython.org/downloads. And I'm proud to say if we were to make a new counter, we now have 2 boards that have the word meow in it. So we have Meowbit and we have Meow Meow. So CircuitPython now runs on KittenBit, Meowbit. It'll probably have some updates, and I think Scott's taking a look at some stuff on that soon. But we did a video last night. I think it feels like it was like 2 days ago, but it was just like a few hours ago. Lady and I did a video showing CircuitPython on the Meowbit. There is some more games that are being developed for CircuitPython. So this is a grade 11 computer science final project. They did a really good asteroids clone. So we made the PyBadge, PyGamer, and a bunch of gaming hardware. And we knew it would take a little while for people to start writing games because it's like, wow, like full-on portable Python hardware that can run games. So we're seeing a lot of that. So check out not only the newsletter, but our blog with this particular school that's using CircuitPython and their platforms, that platform, PyGamer, for their final projects and more. Another nice quote. This is one of the things I always like to share with folks. Plug and play on hardware IoT in under 5 minutes. This took less than 2 minutes and 40 lines of code. And I think that's cool. Anytime you can do something and it's under 5 minutes and it has a minimal amount of code, you're saving a lot of time. And although I didn't get to my 2020 post, I will eventually. I figure I can post mine later. I think what we're starting to see with CircuitPython in particular is you get time machines, you get really far because all that complexity, you don't have to go through it right away. You get spun up really fast, and sure, you can always do more complex things that take a lot of time, but the things that you want to do very quickly, you can do. So it's almost there's a scene in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure where they go back and they go and learn how to play guitar for 6 months, but the audience only sees them disappear for a minute. They come back, they have beards and everything. They're like, we can play guitar now. So I feel like that with CircuitPython sometimes. It's like, wow, like I can do JSON parsing, and I really don't know JSON parsing that well, but the libraries and the things that are in CircuitPython help me make stuff, and now I understand it better. Now I can really dig in. Also, last night we got the upcoming clue board to work with Geek Mom's Brightboard. So check that out. One of the things that we want to do is make sure that a lot of the microbit accessories work with Clue. Clue works really good, and there's an added benefit. It goes in a backpack, and one of the ideas is you'd personalize your backpack with all these little LEDs with the Brightboard with a microbit. But with a Clue, if you want to like turn it up a notch, you can drag and drop images. And one of the things that I didn't think about when I made this video is the screen is so good on the Clue, it looks like a sticker, the Powerpuff Girls. It's actually, that's an image. It's just because the screen is that good. So you could just plug into your computer, drag and drop any image you want, and that's another level of personalization. You get all the LEDs, and then you get Powerpuff Girl. Last up, all the stuff is in the newsletter. Please go there, open up any issues or PRs. Thank you everyone who tags things, #CircuitPython, and @ us on Twitter, Instagram, and all the places. It helps fill the newsletter every single week. It's a big newsletter, once again. It'll go out tomorrow at 11. That's a community report this week.
All right. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that means next up is the state of CircuitPython and the libraries and Blinka. So this is a statistical overview of the state of the project. We have had a couple issues with our library report. It is not currently working properly. So the overall stats are from yesterday. The rest of the stats are actually from the 22nd of January because that's the last time that the report ran fully. So I've still included them, but be aware that other than the overall information, we're a little bit behind. So overall, over the past week, we had 38 pull requests merged by 20 different authors, which is amazing. Some new names, S.J. Irwin, Mark Patterson 27, Andy Garage, T. Suplis, I think, are the names that I don't recognize from previous times. Thank you to everybody who contributed. That's amazing. And 12 reviewers, which is equally amazing. And one of the new names that I see there is Foamy Guy. So thank you very much for joining us in reviewing. Obviously, we need code submitted, but we also have to get it reviewed, and it's a super important part of it. So thank you very much to everybody who's been involved in that entire process. And we had 16 issues closed by 8 people and 7 opened by 6 people. So we are currently net down overall, which is excellent. So overall, we are looking at trying to get 5.0 out the door. So right now we're doing a lot of bug fixes, trying to get everything finalized and ready to go. I'm sure that will be covered again later in more detail. And as for the libraries, we have finally completed the move of our continuous integration testing from Travis to GitHub Actions. So all of the libraries have been released recently. There's been a lot of flurry of activity there, but that's finally done. So we should see library activity dropping down to what is normally expected on said libraries. So thank you to everybody who is involved in that transition. And it's really good to see that project be done. So with that, I will turn it over to Scott to talk about the core.
Thank you, Kattni. Okay, as of January 22nd, so 5 days ago, this will be pretty similar to last week, but we do have one new author. So we had 4 pull requests merged and one new author, Osterwood, who has the USB hub on Crowd Supply, and we had 4 reviewers. So thank you to our 4 reviewers. We had 10 open pull requests. I think we're right about that currently as well. Issue-wise, we had 3 closed issues by 3 people and 6 open by 6 people. So we're for a total of 254 open issues. Check the notes doc if you want to take a look at all of our open issues. Issues are a great way to get started, along with doing pull request reviews are also really helpful as well. If you want to know how to do that, let me know. Happy to help get folks ramped up. We have download stats by board, where 412 is our latest stable release. As of the 22nd, we had 6,923 downloads logged on that, and our unstable release is 5.0 beta 4. Turns out we don't have any downloads logged on this, so I'm sure that number is higher now, and we'll get it fixed up for next week. And yeah, if you want to see those download stats broken down by language and board, just check out the notes doc. We have all that data in there. That's it for the core.
All right. Thanks, Scott. So next up is the libraries. And as of January 22nd, we had 25 pull requests merged from 11 authors, which there's a couple names in here I also don't recognize, which would be different than the last set because it must have been within the week previous to the 22nd. So thank you to everybody who has been submitting, and thanks to our 10 reviewers as well. We have 22 open pull requests. I think that's probably about accurate for right now as well. We've been getting through reviewing some of the oldest ones, and it's been great to see the activity on there and getting that stuff tested and worked in where applicable. So we have 14 closed issues by 6 people and 6 open by 6 people for 137 open issues. If you are interested in seeing those issues or open PRs, please visit circuitpython.org/contributing, where there will be a list of open PRs, a list of open issues, and a list of library infrastructure issues. All of these are a great way to get started contributing to CircuitPython. So if you are interested in that, check out that site and feel free to ping any of us to get you spun up on how to work with Git and GitHub to be able to help out with reviewing or testing code and that kind of thing. There are many, many ways, and we can definitely find something that works for you. So library updates in the 7 days previous to that, there was one new library, which was the LAS3MDL. And I removed the list of updated libraries. There were 5 pages because of the GitHub Actions transition. And it didn't make sense. Basically, every library in the past couple weeks has been released, which means they would show up as updated. So if you want to see that, circuitpython.org/libraries has more, I believe anyway, has more up-to-date numbers. And like I said, moving forward, you'll be able to see a more accurate assessment of what's really being updated versus us doing infrastructure changes. So that is what I have for the libraries. And with that, I will turn it over to Melissa to talk about Blinka.
Hello, so I'm going to speak about Blinka, which is our CircuitPython compatibility layer for Raspberry Pi and other single board computers. So we had 5 pull requests merged. I think these, like Kathy said, these numbers are a little bit behind, and I know some of them are wrong, but we had, according to this, we have 5 pull requests merged by 3 authors, Yeato, Tanud, and myself, and 3 reviewers, Tanu, myself, and Lady Ada. It says we have 4 open pull requests, but I actually know we have 0 open pull requests because we got them all merged in this last week. It says there's 1 closed issue by 1 person, 2 open by 2 people, 29 open issues, and there were 5,159 PyPI downloads in the last week. And it says number of supported boards 0, and I think that's because we had a refactor. It's according to the CircuitPython.org website, there's 38 boards, so I'm going to go with that number. And that's it.
All right. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
So with that, I am actually going to be turning it over to Jeff to talk about Hug Reports.
Hi, everybody. Hug Reports is a section of the meeting where we take the chance to thank one another for the stuff that we're doing. So if somebody did something good for you in the last week and you would like to acknowledge that publicly, this is a chance to do that. The format is a round robin, starting with me and continuing in alphabetical order. Then we'll go back to the top to get everyone a chance to talk. If you've left text and you're marked as text only, I'll read those notes aloud for everybody. So first, I want to thank Kattni for offering me the opportunity to help with the meeting. We're starting with this, and we may move up to me hosting a whole meeting sometime in the future. Thanks to Dar for continuing to work on the issue of memory use in Adafruit SD card. And I think the last update on that was he found something that just completely fixes the memory problem that we were seeing. Thanks to Scott, Summersoft, Dan, and others for reviews on my PRs. Thanks to Ann B for getting me started on the Adafruit Learn system. And thanks to Foamy Guy for starting to work on reviews and even merging PRs. Over to you, Jerry.
There's that unmute button. Yeah, just a group hug this week. Lots of good stuff.
Kattni?
All right. So, hug report to Jeff for running hug reports and working towards running the meeting. And I have a hug report for Foamy Guy for jumping into reviewing PRs and for patience and perseverance as we worked through him making changes to someone else's open PRs. And also to Foamy Guy for joining CircuitPython librarians. So he's joined our review team and really appreciate all the work you've been doing. And now we can get you even more involved. So thank you for that.
All right, Kinger North is lurking, so we'll go on to Maker Melissa.
Hello, I just wanted to give a hug report to John Parker for working so well with me on the latest Gizmo project, and hugs for all the Blinka contributions too lately in the community.
Mr. Certainly and MS Costi are lurking, and I have some notes from Entol to read. He says, general group hug, and to Phil for being awesome and very thoughtful. SDWNJ is lurking, and Sedacious would like me to read his notes. So Sedacious says, hug reports to Dylan for completing the momentous Actions migration project and helping us get the libs into a better and more maintainable state. And thanks to everyone else who helped with the Actions project, but notably Summersoft, Kattni, Maker Melissa, and Lady Ada. Thank you all for your contributions and to anyone I may have missed. It's great to have a strong community that can come together to make large projects like this happen in a timely manner. And Summersoft is also text only. He sends hug reports to Deshapu for spotting and fixing a bug in the module support matrix documentation builder. He thanks Jay Epler for the audio mixer performance improvements and has a group hug, as always. Scott, we're ready for you.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, first and foremost, again, a hug to Joey Castillo, who I saw was working on getting Babel chip support into CircuitPython. Basically, it's a giant font that is stored on a separate chip and has like amazing language support coverage. And I hope that we can get that into CircuitPython and have all the languages supported. That would be amazing. Thanks to Nina and then JA on Twitter for testing Bluetooth in a conference setting. She has a project that's coming up where people can change the color of her badge from their phones or color of her jacket from their phones, I think. So that's going to be really neat. And she was testing the stability of CircuitPython and Bluetooth and all that. Generally good, but a few issues, and hopefully we'll make that better in the coming weeks. Thank you to Jimmo from the MicroPython world for adding a PR for basic Teensy4 support to MicroPython. They're basing it off of Tiny USB, which is just awesome to see that foundation being shared between the two, CircuitPython and MicroPython. And we had some discussions about how to annotate like core bits of MicroPython so that they can get moved to faster parts of memory. So we're looking to do that in the same way so that we can share that as well. So thanks to Jimmo for having that chat. And then lastly, thank you to Hierophect for persevering on the Meowbit. There was a number of new things that both him and I had to learn in order to get the Meowbit going. And I'm excited to see another CircuitPython device, especially one that has native display on it. So thanks to Hierophect for that. And that's it for me.
All right. Ann B and Arturo are lurking, and I've got a note from AT Makers who are text only, and they thank Jay Epler for making an MPY cross service per my request. Carter is lurking, and C. Grover is text only. C. Grover has a hug report for Lady Ada for some excellent coding suggestions and encouraging me to travel outside of my comfort zone. And for the community, you inspire me and provide challenging opportunities to learn and grow. Charles is lurking, so I'll turn it over to Dan.
Okay, I just want to thank Lady Ada, who has us working on the BLE heart rate monitor stuff, and she did an initial little bit of code, which saved me some time getting it started. And we do have it kind of working, but you'll see more later.
All right, Dave P is lurking, so David Cloud, if your mic is working, please go ahead.
Yes, I think it's working. So I would like to thank Dan for the clarification on the chat on Discord for different kind of library. And I don't remember what I did this week, but I tested the BLE HID example from Dan Park. And so I thank him, and I guess Dan for the code behind.
All right, thank you. Drew, are you in the meeting, or do you have some notes for us?
Oh yeah, thanks to Melissa for reviewing PR I had for Platform Detect and also Blinka.
Dew Wester is lurking, so I'll turn it over to you, Foamy Guy.
I had a couple this week. Thank you to Anne and John and Tony and Katney. All of those guys have great learn guides with waveforms and tone generator, pizzo buzzers, and all kinds of fun stuff like that I played with over the weekend. And then another one to Katney just for helping me work through my first few reviews and everything.
Thank you. And Geek Guy is text only, but he has left some notes. To Maker Melissa, a hug report for being a nitpicky PR reviewer. Keep on nitpicking. And to Foamy Guy for taking on more responsibility as a PR reviewer. Hiereffect does not seem to be in the meeting, so I will read his notes. He gives a hug report. Oh, you're here.
Hello?
Oh, all right. You're up. Go ahead.
Hi. Sorry. I'm not sure if I wasn't showing up on Discord or what.
No,
Anyway.
I failed in alphabetical order.
Anyway, yes, thanks this week to Scott. Big thanks to Scott for his help on debugging the meow bit, and also to Lady Ada for giving it a test. Seems like things are working so far, so that's exciting. And a group hug to everyone else.
The notes say that Jacob and Jason are lurking, so I think that brings us full circle. Thanks, everybody, and now we will go on to status updates if I didn't miss anybody.
Jason has notes.
Oh, Jason has notes. He gives a hug report to whoever is working on CircuitPython.org. It looks great, and I agree with that 100%.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jeff, for running hug reports. Excellent.
Oh, and we have one more from Code and Solder in the text channel. I'll read it out. Oh, or in audio. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hug report for Lady Ada and Brent Rubel for awesome guides on Airlift ESP32 Featherwing and mini MQTT for CircuitPython. Hug report for Entol for releasing the much awaited release of Moo, and a group hug report for everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Back to you, Katney.
All right. Thank you very much for running hug reports. Next up is status updates. So status updates is an opportunity for us to sync up on what we've been doing and what we're going to be doing. It's basically, what have you been up to since the last meeting, and what are you going to be up to until the next meeting? So take a couple minutes, tell us about your projects, tell us about your code, tell us about what you've been up to, and what you're going to be up to. If you find that there's anything that turns into, like I said, a longer form discussion, you can bump it to In the Weeds if you'd like. This is also an opportunity for people to give tips and tricks on whatever it is you're working on. If somebody has questions with quicker answers, it's something we can do during status updates. So we're doing this in a round robin again. I will start and then we'll go down the list, reading notes again when people are not available or are text only, so on and so forth. So with that, let me get a time code and I will get started. Last week, I added a not implemented error to the Express module in the Circuit Playground library to cover potentially importing features not available for CPX. It's written to be expandable, so it should be easy to add to it as we add more features to the other Circuit Playground modules. It's not strictly necessary, but I thought it made sense to include, so I added it, and that will be included in future CircuitPython releases. So for now, it'll just fail ugly, but in the future, it will fail friendly. I added a page to the CircuitPython Made Easy on Bluefruit and Express guide called The Technical Side. It goes into a technical explanation of how the Circuit Playground library works under the hood and why it's special on CPX. This is a piece of information that really, people have asked questions about it over the, last couple of years, but we haven't really had a single place that explains it. So now that's available, and I linked to it in the Circuit Playground library README, so that that information it's stored in one place, but is available in multiple places. I also fixed image links in the README. We've had image links in there forever, and they've never worked. Now they do. So worked on and finished up the guide for the MLX 90640 thermal camera, and I have one thing left to do for that. And then lastly, spun up Foamy Guy to get him started going on reviews, PR reviews, testing, making changes to open PRs to fix linting and change requests, and finally added him to the CircuitPython librarians to give him merge and edit access. So this week, I have to test code one more time for a change to one of the Circuit Playground examples. The sound meter example currently doesn't work on Bluefruit. I want to test those changes one more time and then submit a PR for that. I'm going to be, which I didn't put in the notes, doing the product guide for the DPS 310. I want to go through the library PRs again. However, there's a lot of activity going on there, and so I'll continue helping with that. I don't need to worry as much about that right now, which is amazing. Eventually I want to go through the guide feedback and the learn system. I scanned through most of it last week. Some of it is more involved in terms of fixes. Others of it is just I need to find out whether some technical question is correct or not, that sort of thing. So anything that wasn't quick I didn't do, and so I want to go through that. There's an image used in one of the guides right now that's a little bit confusing because it is of a particular board and then it got reused in a bunch of other guides. Basically any Metro style board, so the Arduino shape or the Grand Central shape has a 6-pin header on it that is not labeled on most of the boards. One of the newer Metros has it labeled, but most of them don't. And so it's a image labeling that, but because I made it so that it was zoomed in on the connector itself, it's apparently confusing people. So need to remake that. And then I'm going to begin documenting running this meeting. The goal there is to be able to have other people run it, which is something we've been interested in for quite a while. But in talking to Jeff about it, it made sense at his request, and just in general, it makes a lot of sense to document what it is we do, because there's some weird stuff that we do after the thing to get it posted and get it into the newsletter, and just, little things that we have been doing long enough that we just know that when you just say to somebody, hey, here's these 15 things you have to do, it doesn't really help if there's not a list. So I want to do that, and we're going to try and come up with ways for people who may not have access to those things, like, for example, may not have access to post a video on YouTube, to still be able to run the meeting. So we want to try and facilitate that, or do something similar to what we did today, where we have someone help out with running the meeting. So we have a lot of different options there, and we want to try and open this up to the community, both internally and externally, to see if anyone else is interested in doing this, and if so, how we can facilitate that. So the very beginning of that is to document everything we do when we run it. I will start that document, and I will have Scott look at it once I've got it in place, and we'll see if we can't figure out a way to have it set up so other people can run this meeting if they are interested in doing so. So that is what I am up to this week, and King of North is lurking, so I will kick it to Melissa for her status update.
Hello, let's see here. Okay. Last week I tested and merged a bunch of the Blinka related PRs I alluded to earlier. I worked with John Park on a now playing Gizmo demo, and that makes use of the Apple Media services. And then I made a bunch of progress on the LED backpack guide and added some HTK33 or HT16K33 library updates. This week I'm going to finish up that guide. I need to test the Raspberry Pi examples on the 240 by 240 Pi TFT, create an Arduino e-paper featherwing example. If I have time, I'd like to update the Arduino TFT LCD library to work with the Adafruit GFX, and start working on some guides about adding boards to Blinka so that other people can do that easier. And I think that's it. It's more of a wish list than what I'll necessarily get to, but I think it'll work.
Good place to start.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. So I have a couple of lurkers, and I have some notes. Some notes from Entol, who says, new bug fix release of Mu yesterday. Big change is the fix for Catalina users. Details here, and there is a link in the notes. Next up, I have notes for Sedacious, who says, previously, lots of driver work, refactoring, and cleaning up code. A few guides, LAS3MDL and LSM6DS33. Helping Dylan as needed with finishing up the actions migration. And next up, more guide work and driver refactoring. And next up is Summersoft, who is text only, so I will read that off. Last week, Core tested and merged Jepler's audio mixer performance improvements PR. And Rosie Pi World got the configuration scripts finished and installing without failure. Started verifying services, etc. are working properly. However, after getting Redis to work properly, it seems there is some dark magic to getting the system Redis service to actually stop. It is locking up, shut down, reboot, which is fun. In terms of Adabot, investigated an error that the daily report is having. Evidence points to an issue on GitHub's end. The API releases endpoint for the core repo seems to be having issues. Did a setting permission get changed, perhaps, question mark. This week, in terms of Adabot, work on the report changes to list merged versus open PRs, and add some better handling of the aforementioned GitHub release endpoint error. It should fail gracefully. And Rosie Pi configuration. And next up is Scott.
Hello. Last week was a short week. We had Monday off. I think I was digging myself out of the hole of email and reviews that I got myself in the prior week. And then I primarily worked on the NeoPixel Pixel Buff stuff that had hit over the weekend, and there were some bugs. So I reverted the Pixel Buff dependency or changes for NeoPixel because that was causing issues with the old Pixel Buff on 4X. And then I've refined the API a little bit to make it cleaner in terms of how it manages the underlying memory. So I have a PR for out this week. That this week I'll get in. I want to get the Teensy 4 support in this week as well. Although it's definitely not perfect. There's been some issues of pasting too much stuff causes it to crash and things, but we're really not, 6.0 is where we're going to really hit the IMX RT, I think. So it's really early and we don't need it for 5. So I'm circling kind of back to Bluetooth land, which is where 5.0 has us, and I'm focused on the sensor story that we have. So if you have a bunch of Bluetooth sensors around your house and you want to kind of collect all the data from all those, what is the easy CircuitPython way that could be done? So I'll be taking a look at that and like kind of how other folks have done BLE sensor stuff in the past as well. So expect to see like a repo that just documents like all of our Bluetooth APIs and UUIDs and stuff. So that we can have that in a central place and make sure that we don't actually like reuse UUIDs on multiple stuff. So that'll be my week this week after I'm through reviews and email, which shouldn't be too bad.
All right. Thanks. Next up is AT Maker's Bill, who is back.
Hi guys, sorry about the dropping off. I had a day job thing. So I did the judging on the Hackaday contest, and I do have a question to kind of throw out there. Does anybody actually have any library plans on the gesture sensor that they're going to be playing with? I'd love to play with that in CircuitPython instead. We now have a adaptive controller version of CircuitPython building automatically whenever a new version of CircuitPython posts. It automatically kicks off a build and post it there in GitHub. That's to get around the weirdness where it has to have no other HID descriptors and stuff. So if anybody wants to play on an Xbox adaptive controller, that is there. Feel free to use it. I do have a guide on the first one of those. It's about ready. The problem is I don't think I'm going to be able to post it before ATIA, which gets to the last one, which is if you want to see a whole bunch of CircuitPython stuff being used in the gaming lounge and you're in Florida, come over and see us. We would love to have you there because it's going to be, I'm going to be posting videos, but there's going to be about a dozen different custom controllers in use, all of which use CircuitPython. So that'll be fun.
All right. Excellent. Thanks. So next I have some notes. Carter's looking and I have notes for C. Grover. After I get a time code. All right, wrapped up 2 Sound Studio projects this week, working on a third. The thermal project learning guide is almost complete, seemingly at the project manager's nightmare zone of 90% project completion. Developing the guide reminded me of the many new CircuitPython coding techniques and features learned during this project, and that I have yet to learn. Each step forward is simultaneously satisfying and humbling. Starting working through the Purple PCB backlog yesterday, this week we'll focus on completing and testing at least 2 boards. And next up is Charles.
Well, I'm working on a project. I got a hold of a keyboard, a keybed, and keyboard for from an old DX7 from a company called Cintar, and I'm hoping to interface that to a Teensy4 so I can use the USB stuff to talk to my synthesizer. So that's about all I got.
All right.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Next up is Code and Solder.
All right. So last week I worked on a demo project for the local processing day meetup, which is going to happen this coming weekend. So I noticed whenever I go to a conference wearing a Pi badge, everyone is interested to wear it and have their own name. It's easy to open the code.py file and edit the name, but I decided to have this ESP32 airlift and control it over the Adafruit IO, sending the name from MQTT, and the demo worked pretty well. And I added a feature which can also let you control the color of the 5 NeoPixels on the board. So it's pretty cool, and I'm gonna share the photos when I'm in the processing day meetup coming weekend. Also attended the local community meetup in Delhi, India after a long time. And the people who attended the CircuitPython day, they were really excited to know about how to start contributing to CircuitPython. And I made them open a few issues to get them started, and I'm gonna help them next week with these issues and creating pull requests. So yes, new people joining in. It's really cool. The plan for the next week is I'm planning to make an small hardware which I can control the Adobe Lightroom functions, and I can edit my photos which I'm clicking really fast. So I'm also going to share that progress. So yep, that's my update.
All right, excellent. Feel free to ping us if you run into any issues with the people that you're mentoring with contributing.
Sure, definitely.
All right. Next up is Dan.
Okay. So last week, just about a week ago, after the meeting last week, we've finished off CircuitPython Beta 4, and I released that, and then forgot to click a merge button, and it didn't show up on CircuitPython.org until the next day, but it's there now. No problem. I'm starting to go through all the bugs that are left in 5.0 to fix, and I fixed one random bug which has to do with turning off NeoPixels on, say, the Circuit Playground Bluefruit and some other boards when you do a soft reload, like when you type interrupt, type Control D in the REPL or something like that. So that's fixed and merged, and we started working on various BLE device code. So we got, a bunch of us got heart rate monitors, and we're trying that out, and we have a working code that reads the heart rate monitors. There is some bug still in the BLE code that can cause the whole thing to hang up at some point. I don't think it's specific to heart rate monitors, and so I'm trying to debug that right now. And we'll continue to work on more 5.0 bugs so we can progress toward a release that's not beta. Okay.
All right, thanks, Dan. Next up is D. Gloud.
Okay, so last week I tested the BLE, as I've already explained. I don't have a rotary encoder, so I tested with the button. Then I tested Blinka, just in case I wanted to demonstrate that at FOSDEM, but for that, it's not focus. And I've been reading a lot of the documentation and thinking about the question I should ask. And next week, or I think I will finish my slides, write some demo codes, double check if I can do live coding or something like that, just to make sure everything I type people, and then asking you a lot of, say, something which is not.
All right, I will say something about live coding. Be prepared for it to fail. Have a backup solution is basically what my suggestion will be. Live demos are tricky in general. And so most conferences recommend having a backup solution, but I would make that suggestion as well. Just either have it, have another board with it already running, or have a video available, something to that effect, just so you don't get caught by your demo deciding to be not so great.
All the demo code will be available on GitHub, so the plan is to copy and paste. Maybe the hello world will be done.
Yeah.
In live coding.
That's exactly, yeah, that's exactly how I usually do it, is copy and paste it off of GitHub, but I've still run into, sometimes things get wonky, but people like it. People like knowing that, you're as human as they are. So it's not a bad thing if things decide to go a little bit weird, but just be prepared. All right. Next up is Drew.
So we
Yeah, I added support for the BeagleBone Green to Adafruit Platform Detect because I noticed it was missing, and then also added that into Blinka as well. And still working on trying to sort out some PWM support issues for the BeagleBone. And that's all.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Drew. Next up is Foamy Guy.
All right. So last week, like I mentioned before, I kind of got my feet wet with the first few reviews and pull requests. And then the other main thing I did last week was playing around with the Neo Trellis M4, learning about audio waveforms and tone generating and all kinds of fun with that. And then next week is going to be more of the same, keep going on reviews and also start looking over in the issues for stuff that I think I can help with. And then just continuing to play with audio. That's kind of fun for now, and maybe try to tie it together with Android.
Excellent. And thank you again for jumping into the reviews head first. It's been
absolutely.
great.
Happy to help.
All right. Next up, Gate Guy is text only. So next up is Hair Effect.
So last week I worked mostly on just Meowbit errors. So I fixed, which ended up kind of branching across the STM32 port a bit. So some kind of critical fixes to PWM are included as a part of that PR, as well as some kind of interesting new updates to Display I/O. So it's out now and it's passed initial testing, which is exciting. Or it's out as a PR. It's in the review stage, so that's kind of finally behind me. It's taken a while to get all of the bugs with Meowbit solved because that was a real stress test of the port overall. I also laid out the pin maps for the Esperino board, so I'm hoping to get those in pretty soon. This week, I'm going to basically be just managing the Meowbit PR, finishing up the Esperinos, and then looking into kind of the upcoming projects for STM32, which include wrapping up any remaining bugs for 5.0 and adding UF2 support. So that's generally it for me. I've also got a guide that I'm working on for Zephyr, but that's unrelated. So hopefully won't be able to manage my time between those two things. So that's it.
Sounds good. Thanks. We have Lurking, and that means next up is Jeff. I cannot hear you. You are unmuted, but I cannot hear you.
How about now?
Yes.
All right. Last week I did UI work on JetPlayer and started drafting the Learn Guide that will become. And so I'm learning the Learn Guide system this week. I did some work providing ready-to-run MPY cross binaries, and fuzz tested the MPY cross program to decide that probably we could give untrusted inputs to it, and then set up an AWS Lambda that can be used as a web service to MPY compile a source file. You upload your .py to this web page and you get back the MPY. And maybe this belongs down with my ongoing fun projects, but I helped a friend set up a pipe temperature monitoring project with Adafruit IO and if this then that. So that was a fun little learning experience. This week, continue with the Learn Guide. That and any changes or bug fixes in JetPlayer are my highest priority. And then my next bullet point here is one that I actually did yesterday. On SAMD, there's this weird stuff when we do stereo on the DACs, and I think there are some simplifications to it. And we'll continue to pursue that, but kind of as a secondary item. My other ongoing fun project is that my custom keyboard is all wired up and running CircuitPython, and I've been using it all day, and it is great. I love it. And recovery from my foot surgery is going well, so thanks for everybody who was concerned and asked about that.
That's great to hear. All right. Next up is Jerry.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Yeah, so this was a kind of a frustrating week. I've been working on this for weeks now. is update to the RFM 9X and 6.9 libraries to add what they call reliable datagram mode. And initially the actual code to do the handshaking, the ACK packets, was simple, and that's working fine. But one of the things I've been trying to do is test it against the Arduino Radiohead library, which is sort of the default, and it's failing miserably. The problem is that the C code just runs so much faster, and no matter what I seem to do, the CircuitPython code just can't handle especially the ACK packets. They come back so fast from the C code that it just doesn't see them. So it's a real problem. I don't know what to do about it. So I'm struggling with that. And then the problems are even worse on the Raspberry Pis under Blinka, because I discovered some timing issues there that are really driving me nuts, with some significant delays in between not an SPI transaction. When you send something SPI, once it starts, the SPI transaction works great. But in between them, there are these big delays of several milliseconds that I think are just due to Linux kernel slow issues that I'm, again, not quite sure what to do about. So I'm rethinking the whole thing. So it's just going to need a bunch more work, I think, to really think about how to do this right. Possibly even just really redoing the libraries completely. So I'm going to take some time and think about that and play with it. I'm learning a lot, but it's frustrating.
Is the CircuitPython stuff a matter of like if we had a buffer in the C land, it would be better?
Maybe I don't know. I mean, it's such a I don't know how to make it possible. What I did on my side was I was able to, on the CircuitPython side, so if you have two CircuitPython boards talking to each other, I can just put a little delay in, say hold off 100 microseconds before you send the ACK packet. That works great.
Okay.
But I can't do that on the Arduino side. So,
right.
Or I mean, I suppose I could put a PR in there and ask them to add that feature, but I'm not sure it's a good idea. So yeah I mean, maybe. So I just don't know quite what the right approach is here. So I need some time to think about it and play with it, and probably talk to you more. But part of it may be, when the libraries were first set up, this was not envisioned, I don't think, to even implement this. So there may be just some things that can be done to overall improve it.
If you ever need to bounce ideas off Dan or I or Jeff or whomever, just snag us.
Great. Yeah, because on the Raspberry Pi too, what I've been trying to do there is work with interrupts, and that's been a mess. And looking at other code, there's some other libraries out there that run the 9X stuff, and they, as far as I can tell, violate all the rules that have been imposed on Blinka about being nice and doing SPI. So they work, but I'm not sure it's a good idea. In other words, you see the timing differences, but they don't open and close the bus device every time they act. So I don't know why they get away with it and we can't, but it's definitely questions to ask.
Yeah, I think Melissa's the person to talk to about that.
Yeah.
I know. I don't have the Linux background.
Okay. Well, again, it's been a great learning experience. Having fun, but I'm just I keep tearing my hair out trying to think, is this really an improvement over what we have? I don't know. Other thing, I did do some more playing with the Teensy4, and you fixed the decache thing. Thanks, Scott. Right. And so that's working fine with I2C. I got it able to talk to an accelerometer.
Right.
I did find that when you do cut and pastes of more than a few lines, it gets really upset.
Yeah, I know there's still issues.
But other than that, it seems to be working nicely. And just a heads up, I'm going to be doing some life for the next several weeks. So I'll probably be out for the next several meetings due to various conflicts and some travel. So have a good few weeks, and maybe it's a good time to let this RFM stuff settle in for a while anyway.
All right. Well, thanks, Jerry.
Yep.
And that is status updates. Which means we are to In the Weeds. In the Weeds is an opportunity for more long-form discussions, questions, things that don't fit into status updates, and so on and so forth. So we have a number of in the weeds topics proposed today. And so I'm going to go ahead and get this started and hand it over to Scott for the first topic.
Hi, yeah. So I wanted to. I've been procrastinating on like what the CircuitPython 2020 wrap-up blog post is. I linked in the notes doc to what I did last year, and I like it, but it's a lot of work. Where it's like talking about all the different aspects of CircuitPython and what happened and things like that. I think what I'd like to do this year is just kind of a quicker, like, here's a recap or like very broad, like paragraph about what happened and what people talked about, and then a list of all of them. And then also just there's some quick stats in there that I'd like to pull and just kind of compare to last year. But I'm hoping that it's just a bit lighter weight. I feel like we got a lot of the value out already with the individual posts, and reading through those I think was really awesome. So I just want to like, is there anybody that would be sad if it wasn't long? Otherwise, I think I'll just do a quick one, and then I can get that off my plate, and we can dive into 2020 like we have been.
No, I think it's fine.
All right. Once again, crickets. So cool. That's it for me.
All right, excellent. Next up is Jeff.
Yeah, so this weekend I played with the MPY cross stuff and created this little web service, but I don't really want to be responsible for it. So I just wondered whether there is anybody who has an interest in taking it over. It's just a very small Python program that in this case works with AWS Lambda, but it could work with any kind of web hosting, and it calls out to an MPY cross and sends you back the result.
Yeah, so this is Bill, AT Makers. I think I'm the cause of this, right? I'm the one who asked for it, and I
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I can take that if you'd like to send it to me. I have a place I could run it, or I could put it up in AWS Lambda. I think it would be a good thing eventually to have somehow under CircuitPython.org, right?
Yeah, I mean that would be neat, sure.
Yeah.
I think my preference would actually be to add the capability of CircuitPython to do it. So put a .py file on a CircuitPython drive and just call something that writes out the MPY back to the file system.
The whole reason that we're at this point is this is on an M0 board that can barely accommodate what it needs to
Yeah, it's
do.
on a non-express board. So the problem here, and actually it might work because it's not really a flash limitation. It's more of a memory limitation.
Right.
If
you don't
compile,
have to do it on the M0 though. You could use an M4 to produce an MPY for an M0.
Yes. So yeah. So this might be something where we should take this off case and I should actually give you the use case here, right?
Yeah.
So this is a larger file that people are going to edit to change a configuration. And the problem is the configuration is too big unless you byte compile it, unless you MPY cross it. So having to have them have a different piece of hardware to do it probably wouldn't be as good as having them go up to a web service to do it. But
yeah, the other option is that like we could actually work to make the import memory footprint lower.
Yes. Yeah. So this, yeah, I'd love to see all of that. I'm happy to work on it no matter how it is. In the short term, as far as Jeff turning that over, if Jeff, you want to send it to me, I can put it someplace and put it under, atmakers.org for now while we work through this, right?
Sure, that's fine. I sent the Python part as a gist, and I can dig that out and communicate it to you directly. What's a good way to communicate with you?
Bill at atmakers.org is the easiest way.
Okay.
I'm also on Discord and whatever.
All right, excellent. Next up is some topics from DCloud.
Oh yeah, so I've got 4 questions. I think the first one was already answered in the Discord. It's trying to find which board would work with CircuitPython and MicroPython, just in case somebody is unsure and he wants to try and compare both. The same way you could compare combining with Arduino and doing the same thing with CircuitPython. In the past, it used to be ESP8266. This is not supported anymore, so I was looking which one was the best.
Mhm.
That Mu kit, great.
Yeah, so there is, as far as I know, there is not a concrete list of MicroPython supported boards. Like our website for CircuitPython is the de facto place for that, but I don't know of a list that documents the overlap between the two.
I'm gonna cross check and I'm gonna make a table or something.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Then, yeah, I had one question about open hardware thing because apparently you have the PCB of all or most of the CircuitPython boards in GitHub, but only one of them is certified in that OS. So I was wondering, is it all open hardware or just that one, or what's trick?
I think it's all Adafruit boards are open hardware. If schematics and files are not present online, it's simply an oversight, and you can always email us and we'll do it. I think the reason that only one board is documented with open source hardware official logo is just that the certification process for them is work, and we already do the work to post everything online, and we just haven't done the work to get the like numbers and stuff from the foundation. So I would say it's safe to call it open hardware. We can't put that logo on there because we haven't run through the process with them, but I believe that the work that we do for every board matches what they do. We just haven't gotten the numbers and put them on the silk screen.
Okay, and then I was checking if everything that BLE is capable of doing, we can do it with Python. And I was kind of missing one of the role, and then I figured out that there was that heartbeat learn guide, and that was maybe the missing role. Well, can you pretend to be a art monitor? Maybe that's dangerous, I don't know. So can we do everything?
Yes, you can do. It can act as a central peripheral, a server, and a client. Those are orthogonal, right?
Right.
They're those pairs.
Yes.
So we have examples of each.
And you can broadcast and not.
Yeah.
And observe. Those are two more roles.
You can do
I would also
Blinka,
caution that some roles are better tested than others currently.
Well, the last one is, well, I've been reading a lot of documentation from the Learn system and trying to report when something was unclear. But this is totally anonymous because they tell you not to put a name. So you don't know if it was received, if there are questions, if your remarks have been taken into account, where for the code, you would do a PR and you would have discussion with whoever is the author. So I would like to understand why it's to be anonymous. Okay.
I would say it's historical. It's kind of just Learn is a homegrown system that's been with Adafruit for a while, and that's the way that they've chosen to take feedback into the system. I've given that feedback myself personally, that like we don't actually have like any sort of communication cycle with the people who are doing stuff, but they've prioritized other work on top of doing it other ways.
Yeah,
it
could be better. The forum is often also been used as a feedback mechanism, but it's not automatic. So it could be better.
Well,
We agree.
Most of the time I know who made that guide, and I can go to Discord and kind of put a remark there for whoever is the author. But okay, whatever. And
Okay.
that's all for me.
All right. Well, thank you. Next up, I have an actively being typed out in the weeds topic from Maker Melissa.
Hello. So I had an idea for, but apparently this looks like it might have been implemented in MicroPython already. But I was thinking after Jerry was talking about the moving some of the radio modules to like C, and with the PyPixel buff being done in C, it's like I there's definitely some usefulness of having it pre-compiled and able to access from CircuitPython. And so I was thinking like, well, there's some compiled C modules that aren't processor specific, so you don't have to have 100 different versions, maybe a common API or something like that. And so it was just more of an idea that I thought might help, like in a future version of CircuitPython.
I think this is actually very tricky because the ARM cores that we run on, like M0, M4, M7, they're actually different sets of instructions. Now that there's definitely subsets between the two or three, but I think MicroPython has added native compiled support for modules, but I think it's a support nightmare. And so I'm really wary of us going that route because like the ESPs are completely different assembly, like they're completely different architectures. So I don't think having cross processor stuff is as easy as just having a common API. I think there's a fundamental challenge with different features of the core processor that are accessible through different instruction sets. I think it's going to be a support nightmare unless we come up with a way for an MPY file, like a native module, to basically have all of them.
Okay.
So I wanted to pop in on this just because it was an idea that I was very excited about when writing my CircuitPython 2020. Partially from the perspective that, it just seemed like something that could be very useful for folks who aren't necessarily plugged into the main CircuitPython community, but wanted to make their own C module that could then be used in CircuitPython, which is something that primarily is a priority for the scientific community, who have maybe a module that they can't implement in Python, but they still want to use CircuitPython. So, I mean, is the issue that basically, I mean, the modules would basically have to be compiled per CircuitPython board, like to get the right assembly, but that they would need to, but it would basically, you wouldn't have to like could write C stuff without contributing to the main CircuitPython core, basically, right?
Right, and I think that's why MicroPython's doing it the way they're doing, is that like they have customers that know what chip that they're targeting, and then they're okay with making that limitation.
Okay.
Is that just a tougher thing to manage within kind of this community? Just having people compile per board. Is that just kind of you just mentioned it was a support problem?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're teaching people that CircuitPython libraries run everywhere, and if we have libraries that are native code, like how do we manage all the different variants that run different places and teach them what to load where?
Yeah, that's why I was thinking a common API, but maybe it provides no advantage over the MPYs.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about for sure.
Yeah, I think you would definitely want, if it was introduced conceptually, you definitely want some kind of way that really clearly signifies that these are basically like non-official. Like you would want them to like explicitly be like a CircuitPython per board add-on or something. You'd like sort of,
and I think
thing.
Yeah, and I think if you get to that specialization, I don't think it's not broad enough, not applicable broadly enough to justify the work in my mind. I think it makes more sense for MicroPython because Damien's business model is supporting specific companies doing specific things, where we're much broader and more general.
I think that's reasonable. I think probably the best case for that would be to find one of these kind of scientific people who are backing a scientific endeavor where they're using CircuitPython and see if they could get it, they could sponsor it or something like that. That would probably be the best way forward.
Yeah, for something that doesn't go in the core, but if there is like some small core piece we should just put in the core, then we could do that too.
All right.
Yeah.
And next up, I have a topic from Summersoft. Do you want to go over it or do you want to punt it? Because it is listed as could be deferred to a later date, so I will leave it up to you.
Oh.
Community vote. It's actions triage, GitHub issues. Should we go for it or should we file it on GitHub? Anybody have an opinion?
I mean, it's always good to have it on GitHub too, but it looks like it's just the question of whether we want to save GitHub time, build time. So it's basically based on a PR, the files that a PR changes, should we run only some tests, not all tests? And I generally think that's probably not worth the time. Like in terms of what maintenance stuff is most valuable, I think making builds go faster in this case is not necessarily that beneficial.
Okay.
Are we hitting limits on GitHub Actions APIs or anything like that where we would care?
Yeah, I mean, if it prevents them from running at all, then maybe we'll have to take a look at it. But I don't believe we're hitting that yet.
Yet being the operative term.
Yeah. But also there's always the chance that like you can solve it with money, like just upgrade the plan with GitHub or whatever.
Right.
Like there's other ways of getting around those problems when they come up too.
Okay. So
yeah,
I think
I
that's
think
the general answer is
yeah,
that we can put the effort in elsewhere.
Yeah, we can do it as needed rather than too early.
Okay. And that is in the weeds. And we are well over an hour, which has kind of been our thing lately, so that's totally fine.
Lots of people.
I know, which is excellent. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. This has been the CircuitPython Weekly for January 27th, 2020. If you are still listening, we will be posting this, or we'll have posted this on YouTube and to most podcast services. So if you're still listening later, you also can check online for the notes document, which has timestamps and covers everything that we covered. And the notes doc is also available in the event that you are not interested in watching or listening and are more interested in reading. So check that out. We will be back again next week, Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, standard time, standard place. Again, if you want to chat with us all week, we are on Discord. You can join us there at adafru.it/Discord. And join us in the CircuitPython channel, or if you have questions, there is the Help with CircuitPython channel. Both are available and we are around. I want to thank everybody who participated. I want to thank all of the new people who have joined us. It's excellent to see so many new faces. And remember that you absolutely can join the meeting and lurk if you're interested in listening in live, but do not want to participate. We are perfectly happy to have you. So thanks everyone who participated. Thanks everyone who lurked. And thank you to all of our contributors to the project. And we will see you all next week.